are intentional about, we at Mass Poetry are intentional about ensuring that events are accessible to everyone attended and involved in the festival. We have closed captions available for this event. If you can't see them, you can turn them on by clicking the live transcript button at the bottom of your Zoom screen and then show subtitles. If you would like to turn them off, you can choose hide subtitles. For anyone who is depending on auto captions today, to ensure chat messages are not popping up over the captioning, click on chat at the bottom of the screen and it will open a chat panel to the right. If you experience any trouble with this or any other logistics, please send a private chat message to me or to Julia. I'm sorry, what was your last name? Liesel?
Lisella.
Lisella, Julia Lisella. See, we've just met. Regarding Zoom etiquette, please keep yourself muted unless you're invited to unmute by the speaker. There are many ways to interact with each other via the chat and the Zoom reactions buttons, so please feel free to use them as a way to engage. Please be kind and respectful to the event producers and your fellow participants. We will remove participants for discriminating or harassing comments, and in such cases, participants may be banned from further festival participation. Basically, just be polite. Thank you for your patience, and we hope you enjoy the event. And now let me hand it over to our poet, Kelly DeMar.
Welcome, everyone. I am so glad to be here, and I am so glad that you are all here. And I want to encourage you, as I set up my share screen, to look around. Scroll around. There you go. Scroll around the video screens just so you can see. You've probably got friends here, and as I do, and so it's just thrilling to have so many of you here to write from your photos today. A couple of quick things I want to mention. This is a webinar that I teach often. I'm really passionate about it. I teach it from a variety of different angles, usually according to theme from photos that I encourage you to bring. And today, our theme that we're going to be focusing on is how pictures heal, writing from your photo stream. So I just want to remind you all, if you have not yet selected a photo to write from, please do, from your photo album, from maybe it's framed on your wall, perhaps it's on your cell phone. It doesn't matter to me whether there are people in it or nature or children or inanimate beings, whatever. It could be abstract, whatever it is. It could be an ancestor. It's your photo and you're going to write from that photo today. And the other quick thing I want to mention is that we'll have 15 minutes of actual writing time. Silent writing time. So I'm going to go over my program for you, and then you're going to actually sit and write from your photo. And then we were going to have some sharing and processing after that. So I'm excited to talk to you about how pictures heal today. I'm going to be completely transparent. This has been a bit of a strange day for me because, you know, when this is such a big event for me, the idea I'm going to present for all of you at Mass Poetry, and of course something personal in the family was also going down today. And so one of my daughters had a pretty significant custody hearing, and it didn't go as planned, as I had hoped. And why I'm being transparent with you about that today is that everything is going to really be okay. But one of the first things that I did when I came in here to get quiet and prepare for this wonderful webinar was I looked at my own photo stream, because immediately it's pictures of nature, it's pictures of beauty, it's pictures of trees and everything I find in nature, rivers and streams and rocks and lichen and all those things. That's my passion. Flowers in bloom, the jack and the pulpits are out. I immediately went to my own photo stream, and then reflected back at me are all these things that immediately take me into a healing frame of mind, because everything that is in those photos is something I care about and has deep personal meaning for me. And this is why your photo streams are such great material for you to write poetry from. So I know we're on Zoom on some level today. We're not together at Mass Poetry, but let's imagine that we are actually in a very private room of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, all right? So let's be there together today. And I want you to be thinking about how on the walls, on the beautiful gallery walls of this museum or any museum you choose, it could be the Isabella Stewart Gardner, whatever you want, but I want you to imagine not the Picassos or the Cassattes or the whoever you went there to see that that's what's hanging there, but your personal photos, because we are going to approach your personal photo today as if it is a work of art. So this is sort of ekphrastic writing, for those of you who know that term, writing from a work of art, a poem written from a work of art. But we're going to think about your photos, our photos as works of art, and we're going to unpack them. We're going to explore them. We're going to bring the process and appreciation, that observation and detail and probing and metaphor and looking beneath the surface. We're going to bring all those elements to exploring your own photos. Okay, why is that not? Okay, but the focus today is on healing. How many of you are familiar with this wonderful quote by Joyce Carol Oates? I've known it for years. I treasure it. And I know that everybody here is a writer on some level today. So I know you've had this experience. She writes, I have forced myself to begin writing when I've been utterly exhausted, when I've felt my soul as thin as a playing card. And somehow the activity of writing changes everything. That's the experience that I hope we're going to be having together today. Now, I'm going to read a few poems together. I'm going to read them out loud, all right? But I want you to be thinking about writing into the medicine today. Well, you get to decide what that medicine is. We each take a different thing. I take nature photos as my medicine, but it could be family members. It could be beautiful other places, whatever. You have a certain, your own kind of medicine. And that is what I want you to warm up to writing from and connecting with today. This is our warm-up process. So you've all brought a photo, and now we're warming up our unconscious. We are warming up our inspiration. We're going to be going into a photo that we care about. It's connected to our memories, our values, our experiences. And we are going to think about what it means to mend a wound or uplift our spirit, work towards resolving a conflict. We're going to be approaching the idea of healing from that place. This is a photo I took on the Gulf of Mexico many years ago. It was just a structure. I happened to be walking and I just came upon it. And it was a portal for me of healing. And so I've written from this photo and treasured this photo. But we've all had the experience of hearing the whispers of photographs which seem to have a deeper story to tell. This story, this is a photo that's healing for me because it's a monarch butterfly on a coneflower blossom. And of course, a monarch butterfly is all about transformation. So how do you know if your photo has a healing property? Well, you may not know beforehand, all right? You may not have consciously, you couldn't say why I chose this photo to come to write from today, but I think you'll know more about that by the end of our session. Well, but one of the ways you know is that your attention is arrested, the same way it is when you look at a beautiful piece of artwork. Your attention is arrested. You're all in. You're saying, something in that visual has really captured your interest, your attention, your spirit, your unconscious. It doesn't need to be a beautiful photo either. All right. It really could be an aged photo, a torn photo, a watermarked photo, a stained photo. But you're trusting your intuition and your connection to your unconscious. All right, now, I love what Kim Rosen says. She wrote a book some of you may know of, Saved by a Poem. How are we saved by a poem? Well, she talks about how poems, we embody them. They are meant to be embodied, that poems, reading a poem is a physical event that happens in our own body. in our voice, in our breathing and pulse, not to mention our feelings and thoughts. And as we take in the poem, it can become an inner teacher, changing us from the inside out. And we can change the poem as well, giving it a voice in a way that no one else ever could. I'm going to read you a couple of poems that have healing elements in them. And I want you to be thinking about, well, even just a first listen, and some of these poems may be familiar to you. Is there a medicinal or healing element that I might be able to identify from this poem? And this is Blossom by Dorian Law. What is a wound but a flower dying on its descent to the earth, bag of scent filled with war, forest, torches, some trouble that befell now over and done? A wound is a fire sinking into itself. The tinder serves only so long, the log holds on and still it gives up, collapses in its bed of ashes and sand. I burned my hand cooking over a low flame. That flame now alive under my skin, that smell not unpleasant. The wound beautiful as a full-blown peony. Say goodbye to disaster. Shake hands with the unknown, what becomes us once we've been torn apart and returned to our future, naked and small, sewn back together, scar by scar. I'm taking all of these poems in today into my problem. Out of Hiding by Lee Young Lee. Someone said my name in the garden while I grew smaller in the spreading shadow of the peonies, grew larger by my absence to another, grew older among the ants, ancient under the opening heads of the flowers, new to myself and stranger. When I heard my name again, it sounded far like the name of the child next door or a favorite cousin visiting for the summer, while the quiet seemed my true name, a near and inaudible singing born of hidden ground. Quiet to quiet I called back, and the birds declared my whereabouts all morning. Look for the medicine. Oh, antic God, return to me. My mother in her 30s leaned across the front porch, the huge pillow of her breasts pressing against the rail, summoning me in for bed. I am almost the dead woman's age times 2. I can barely recall her song, the scent of her hands, though her wild hair scratches my dreams at night. Return to me, O Lord, of then and now, my mother's calling, her young voice humming my name. Lucille Clifton. And this last one for now, Katie Ford. Song After Sadness. Look for the medicine. Despair is still servant to the violet and wild ongoings of bone. You, remember, are that which must be made servant only to salt, only to the watery acre that is the body of the beloved, only to the child leaning forward into the exhibit of birches the forest has made of bronze light and snow. Even as the day kneels forward, the oceans and strung garnets too kneel. They are all kneeling, the city, the goat, the lime tree, and mother, the fearful doctor, kneeling. Don't say it's the beautiful I praise. I praise the human, gutted and rising. We write from personal photos because it helps us to express unexpressed feelings, find extraordinary beauty in ordinary life, feel creatively nourished, discover how resilient we are, inspire others in this room today with empathy, comfort, and hope. We step into I'm a playwright. All right. But I'm also a poet, and we use our imagination, and we step into our imaginations. We're going to step in I want you to step into your photo today as if you are stepping into a 3-dimensional world where your image will speak. You're going to revive and honor and express nourishing memories. You're going to awaken purpose and meaning amidst loss and change, and express truth and beauty from relationships after loss. Spark meaningful conversations with others here. You're going to discover a truth you didn't know you knew, a new idea about an old belief, a transformative personal revelation, an insight, or an awareness that allows you to live more meaningfully, something you've been unable to see or articulate that leads you to a new way of knowing yourself or others and changes your response to the community or the world. So we're going into the unknown today, just the way poets always do. We are doing it together. Carolyn Forche writes, how the image is the spark. She says, in writing certain poems, I know where I am, but I don't know what the poem is going to be. Which of us does? I'm in a moment imaginatively, which usually begins with an image, your photo, or a glimpse of something in your photo, or something fires off from the past, or something flashes before me, your photo. And I start writing toward someone. Think about who you might be writing toward today. Then I find out what it's going to be. Here's a picture I took on one of my nature hikes. Someone before me on the trail just picked up this beautiful plate glass of ice and from the Charles River and leaned it against a piece of granite. And I just came along and took the picture and later added this quote from the dance photographer, Lois Greenfield. She writes, in my photographs, time is stopped. A split second becomes an eternity, and an ephemeral moment is solid as sculpture. Yes, a photo is fixed in time, but Tracy K. Smith, a poet, tells us how poetry obeys a logic that pulls us outside of time. So we take our photo, which is fixed in time, and then we go to our poem, and we are now outside the bounds of time. She says, but I think the death of a moment is something a poem is fighting against. I find that the lyric poem in particular is wonderful at going back to a moment, the moment in your photo, where something was felt or realized, at allowing that moment to linger, to expand, and allow the poet or the speaker, you, to mine that moment really thoroughly, which doesn't happen in life, which doesn't happen in real time. Poems obey a logic that pulls us outside of time. That's going to happen for us today. But I want you to also think about this wonderful quote from the photographer Keith Carter as you begin to look into your photo. He writes, I don't just look at the thing itself, the image itself, the reality itself. I look around the edges for those little askew moments, kind of like what makes up our lives, those slightly awkward, lovely moments. Well, what do I mean by that? When you look into your photo today, I'm sorry I don't have a bigger version of this one, but this is a personal photo. It's a photo from my childhood. I'm over here. I've got the candy cigarette from the 1960s dangling from my mouth because we did that then. I've labeled it because what I want you to see is I want you to look and find those things in the edges of your personal photo today, because sometimes they're the linchpin, they're the thing that cracks open the meaning, the discovery, the insight, the secret reveal, or the theme. So this poem I ended up writing is a Christmas Eve poem. It's me and my cousins at my aunt and uncle's. But I didn't see this until I started writing from the photo. All right. So very important. Look in those edges. I saw, what's this over here on this far corner? And I said, oh, you know what? It's a globe. Oh, the globe. Yes, we used to spin that globe whenever we went over to their house. Now, once I had the picture of the globe, I had the idea about the North Pole. And then that connected with Christmas. So the North Pole became really the focus of this poem. And so I urge you to go into those edges and undiscovered places. Okay, jumping ahead. I am going to now walk you through your process for opening into your own photograph. All right. And first of all, I want to say whatever writing you do today, you follow my suggestions or not, I don't care, because whatever writing experience you have today is the one you need and want and will value. So I'm not worried about you doing it my way. I invite you into a process that I think may be helpful, but please feel free to write what you need to write today. And I want you to think about, so don't do this yet. I'm going to be giving you a summary of the prompts that I want you to take into your writing about your photo, but I'm going to introduce you to them first and talk about them. Then I'm going to give them to you. All right. So we're going to be thinking about, why did you choose this photo to write from? And I want you to be thinking about how important it is not to think this out, but to write it out. I know I'm talking to writers here and poets, but it's when you don't know in your head why you brought this photo, or if you do know, I want you to not know, because your pen is going to go on the page and you're going to discover something that you didn't know you knew. Jumping ahead of this, I'm gonna probably back up a little bit, but here's where we have this absolutely fabulous tool in poetry called personification. And again, I told you I'm a playwright, and I want you to be thinking about your photo, this moment fixed in time, as if the curtains of the play are about to open and you're in the audience in the darkened theater, and that curtain opens and you see the stage set, right? And you know that a director and a playwright, they've made tons of choices. Everything there on that stage is there for a reason, nothing extraneous. Okay. It's all about telling the story that this photo is going to tell. Now, I do have here, what I'm showing you is actually a picture of a pastel portrait that hung over our family's living room fireplace for many years. And so, yes, it was posed, but I want you to be thinking about how everything in your photo, every detail is part of telling that story. There's nothing in there that isn't important. And we have personification. I want you to enter the three-dimensional world. You're going to be using your senses. You're going to be smelling, tasting, hearing, being back in that moment, or in that moment perhaps for the first time, because you might have never have been in that moment. You might have a picture of a different moment that you brought. Where my brother's tie might have a voice. Okay. I want you to also find the first person sort of personified voice, the voice that's not yours. Let that voice speak in your photo today. Maybe the tie says something like, I know Dusty thinks I'm strangling him. He hates to wear me and he'd tear me off, but he'd get in real trouble by his month. Whatever the tie might say, give that first person present tense voice to the tie. All right. I want you to be thinking about, the setting. Okay. What is the setting of this photo? This is my Aunt Marion, very dear to me. This is her as a young woman in the 1940s. When she was in her 50s, she died in my arms. And later I found this photograph of her in my mother's album years later. And I said, oh my God, this amazing photo, I have to have it. And it was the first photo inspired poem I ever wrote. And it got me really thinking about the method. I want you to be thinking about the props and the setting, the summer camp where she taught. Think about what you can hear. Maybe I hear the voices of the little girls laughing while they're getting their swimming lessons, the splashing. I hear bird song. I taste the sort of piney taste, the smell of pines from the tree sap. I feel it sticky on my feet. The prop, the bow and arrow. The bow and arrow gave me the idea for the beginning of this poem, which is called Monadnock, where she taught me to climb Mount Monadnock. And this perfect aim you take points toward some mysterious, unconventional life. So the bow and arrow, let your props work for you. It was iconic and very healing for me, because I realized, this is the goddess Diana. This isn't my Aunt Marion. She's more than that. It expressed so many things more for me in order to see that connection with her. Three-dimensional world. Let it come alive. This is your moment to let it come alive today. You're always going to have your photo where you can easily see it. You're going to what you're writing today is your raw material. Now, some of you will write a poem because I know we've got poets of all kinds in here, and many of you are like ready. Okay, you're just going to write the poem at the drop of the hat. Others are like us, I'm a poet, but it takes me, I generate my raw material, my rough draft, just let it come out, spontaneous. I want to get all that unconscious and, I want to get all that material down, and then I'm going to sift it and discover it. I don't care how you do it today, but I just want to let you know, write spontaneously. And let it all come. Why did I choose this photo to write from? I love what Clarissa Pinkola Estes says about beginning. She says, don't worry, just begin. We all begin the process before we are ready, before we are strong enough, before we know enough. We begin a dialogue with thoughts and feelings that both tickle and thunder within us. We respond before we know how to speak the language, before we know all the answers for healing, and before we know exactly to whom we are speaking. Now, I actually want you to do what Louise Glick talks about in her wonderful poem. I'm actually going to ask you to wipe the dust from your photo. All right? Sorry. This excerpt from a Louise Glick poem, A Summer Garden. Just read a couple of lines to you because I want you to be thinking about this. She writes, several weeks ago, I discovered a photograph of my mother sitting in the sun, her face flushed as with achievement or triumph. The sun was shining. The dogs were sleeping at her feet, where time was also sleeping, calm and unmoving as in all photographs. I wiped the dust from my mother's face. And so begins her poem of memory. And isn't it wonderful how the dogs literally in the photograph are sleeping, and she can notice that and she has that detail, but then she makes a leap into the abstract, into the metaphorical, because the dogs were sleeping at her feet where time was also sleeping. Well, she couldn't see that literally in the photograph. So I want you to be thinking about, how do I see or feel or experience healing, medicine in this photograph? Maybe it's a metaphor. So when you do question number 2, I want you to wipe the dust from your photo and then see what specific detail you notice now that you did not see before. The setting. I think I pretty much covered that. What is on the stage? The details that you find here and write down. There's so much of the work, the specifics, the specific details that connect people with our poems. So much of the work is done by a photograph because they're there. They just have to be transcribed. Again, sensory or senses. What of your senses are aroused? Odors, smells, taste. Now, again, number 5, this is important. That's the personification and imagination one, where I want you to let the healing power or element of your photo speak in the first person present tense as if it's addressing you. How does it move? What does it say? How did it get here? Where did it come from? Why is it here? What's the nature of its power? Explore that question. That's it. 5 prompts. Here they are in a shorthand version. As we now move into your 15 minutes of writing time, everyone is going to be muted, of course, and write on your computer, write in your notebook. You can talk to me in the chat room if you have a question. I'm going to leave this up. Have your photo where you can see it. Put the pen on the page. Start anywhere you want. Try to get to as many of them as you can. And again, if you ignore these and just go into the writing, it's totally fine with me, wherever your process takes you. But do try to write, why did you choose this photo to write from? And do try to reverse roles with some element of the photo that seems like it has a medicine or a healing power, and let it speak in the first person present tense. I'll look for any questions that you might have I'm going to set my timer, and I will talk to you more in 15 minutes. I'm going to ask my tech people to make sure everybody's muted if you could, please. Just want to let you know 5 minutes left to write, so keep going through as many of the questions as you want to get to. 5 minutes. So I just want to mention that we have 1 minute of writing left. So see if you can bring yourself to a place where if you're not feeling finished, you can pick up again later in your writing. You should take this final minute of writing. Okay. Welcome back from the deep immersion in the writing process. Okay, all righty. So what I am hoping that we will do now just put a message about contacting me in the chat room. So what I would love to do with the little bit of time that we have left is, I know there are a lot of people in the room, but I would love to have some sharing time. So we were in the gallery of the MFA, and we're going to have an impromptu poetry reading or raw material reading, whatever it's going to be for each one of you. I'd love to hear from, you can just raise your hand, just unmute and say, Kelly, I'd love to just pick me, whatever. I want to give you a little bit of spotlight. What we'd love to, where this is not going to be critique, just love to hear some voices, either share a piece of your writing that you're open to and willing to share, or it might be the answer to a couple of the questions, or talk about your process, what you discovered, or anything you want to share. And then we can also maybe look at your photo if we can figure out how to do that. So is there anybody who would like to share a piece of her writing, his writing? Just read what you've written. Did anybody write anything they want to share? Just unmute and tell me. I know there's somebody.
I would.
And just say your first name so I can find you.
Walter.
Walter, that's you, Walter. We have met. Okay. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of, I like to see you, obviously. I want to give you a little spotlight, but I'm just having to thumb through. I'm gonna ask my tech helpers, if you see Walter first, give him a spotlight, because there you are. Okay. There you are. Okay. Sorry, Emily.
Let me reshare the photo real quick, and
Yes.
I'll read from it real fast. So this is the photo of my wife and two daughters in front of a lilac tree. Mother's Day 2 years ago. Worries put aside like hats, held as far from the heads where both worries and hats will return. Each clutched the hand that holds the hat, holding it its worries still. The lilacs blooming like smiles in each woman's face, joy taken in the fresh air and the companionship in the lilacs, putting aside their worries and letting the sun lighten their hearts, together again for a moment, the parting foretold in the shadows under the hats, joyfully hidden together. Their smiles let me know I too can take off my hat, smile at the sun, the lilacs, forgetting that we will soon part, forget that the sun like a lion can kill, though it feels so good. Forget that the lilacs call unicorns which never come, but might, and share with a smile the possibility as my wife puts aside her cancerous worries to bare her graying hair in defiance with her daughters again at her side, happy to breathe the lilacs into the air.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, you took a prop, the hat, and did so many wonderful things with it, Walter. And thank you so much. So taking off the hat, the way we can take off the worries, isn't that? And then that beautiful, wonderful way you shared. Thank you so much. Thanks for being first to go, Walter. I do see some raised hands, which is super helpful. So thank you. I will now, I don't know who is next. So I'm going to say, Cree, would you
Sure.
share
Yeah.
next?
Yeah. And I didn't want to read. I just wanted to share a little of the process for me. I chose a picture that was utterly mundane, and I have no memory of taking it. But I know that I did. It's on my camera phone. And usually my interpretation of writing would be thinking at the moment I would have wanted to capture something interesting, some little spark of magic, and the sorrow of thinking that it is just magic that is lost. But with this sort of medicine aspect, I ended up writing a little more of like how many like moments, how many like little tiny stars of magic have I accumulated that I don't necessarily know the names to, but that make me up at this point. And
Mm.
that was just interesting, a new angle for me, and I liked that with the thinking about healing, thinking about the medicine of the picture.
Love. Thank you so much, Cree. I just love that you found a way to really get the validation and just really get that surprise and that new point of view. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to, I see Judy's hand, and I'm going to jump to Judy, and I don't know why I'm not able to spotlight you. I guess maybe Judy, where did Judy go? Okay, there you are, Judy.
I don't know if you can see the photo or whether I should just put it up on my screen instead.
Okay, good. No, we can, I think we, oh no, we can see that. Yes.
Yes. I just wrote a little haiku. On over the weekend, this robin appeared, and I've been taking pictures of dogwood, and I wasn't having success. And then this robin appeared, and my camera kept focusing on it. And so I just wrote just a little hope. Loud bird call nearby. Robin as pandemic wanes. Feeling eye contact.
Okay, and so it is so short, Judy. Give it to us one more time so we make sure we just really get the full experience of that again, if you wouldn't mind.
Hope rising. Loud bird call nearby. Robin as pandemic wanes. Healing eye contact.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for the beauty of your dogwood and your beautiful robin and your wonderful haiku.
Thank you.
Eye contact. Yes, fabulous. How about Sam Flaherty?
Hi, can you hear me?
Can, yes.
Awesome. My hand down now. Oh, did I disappear? Do you want to put that back? Sorry.
I don't know what's going on.
Took my hand away. Sorry about that.
It's Sam, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's Sam.
Okay, good. There you are.
Awesome. I don't know if I should give context. I used a picture of me when I'm 22 now. I used a picture of me when I was 8 and my little brother was born. I haven't seen him in a little while, so I just kind of reflected on that.
Okay, thank you.
Spindly micro fingers wrap around pudgy, tender hands, grasps of children, pastels and patience. Tight-lipped and terrified, I hold you in my arms for the first time. You coo and whine, but you do not cry. Soft and special, you want to be a part of me. They say sibling bonds are like glue, but I feel as though my binding has dried out and you have faded. But I am fearful. I want to do right by you, but I am fearful you will never want me the way I miss you. My mother is not your mother, but you will always be my blood. That's it. There's a lot of lines on the paper. It was very random lines that I kind of put together.
Good, great.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, I do. I love that you did that. And you know, it's so, I don't hear that many sibling poems. Thank you so much. That poem was really wonderful. And to hear about the siblings. Thank you. I see Kate. There you go.
Actually following with a sibling poem as well.
Okay.
I can't share my screen. Potentially you can see.
Yeah, I think we can see that.
Okay.
We
All
see
right.
2 girls. One of them is you.
Me and my sister. And so I just wrote a little bit about that butterfly umbrella from the butterfly umbrella's point of view. So, a flutter an image. I'm meant to remain steady over one head against the rain, but now I'm tasked with 2. I trust the hand holding me though. Just stay steady against the rain and for her sister by her side.
One of the things that just quickly strikes me about that is how wonderful it is it's in the present tense. That's it's just a wonderful, strong voice in the present tense. Thank you so much. Another sibling one, wonderful. And I see Carla.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
There you are. Thank
Yes.
you, Kate.
Thank you so much. So I'll show you my picture first. It is, I took this on the beach. I'm from Puerto Rico, and this is in Vieques, which is a little island off the coast. And you see it's like a coconut and then it's coming out. I thought it was very beautiful and interesting. So that's what I wrote. Seeds are elusive. They know what they need. They call out to weary travelers, hitchhiking at the edge of the ocean. You knew life grew in the sand. It goes from loose to rock, pigments from green to red. Life is merciless when it comes to surviving. A few things needed to happen for us to get here. The salt flickering under the sun, the water coming out, el desagüe, as sweet as garbage, lining the sparkly shore. I caught your eye, didn't I? I am a child, my feet dangling from the pier, your roots witnessing my youth, which still drags the coconut I came from. It's hard to escape your past, but I felt too, where nothing was before. I came to find you. There was world within you, and a sea of green out the door. Droops are sneaky, like the earth is sneaky. I wonder what you look like when the green grows from inside you.
Ooh, okay. So many metaphors, wonderful in there working. And the coconut that I came from, I think is a line that you
Yeah.
have in there.
So I kind of switched it. It was like from the point of view of the actual coconut speaking to me. That was sort of.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks. That was wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to jump over to, it's not Wendy Cabell, I think it's Joseph. Joseph, I met you at the very beginning, and I'm going to call on you because it looks like you want to share. Are you muted, Joseph? You seem to be. Let's see if we can get Joseph unmuted. And so while he does that, hello? You're.
Oh, now
Great.
he's unmuted.
Perfect.
And this will be the last one. It's a 1 minute warning.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, was muted, I guess. I don't know.
You're unmuted. Do you want to share? Yep, we saw that wonderful picture in the beginning. Okay.
Okay, this is after the hunt when we'd come home. This photo expresses me as a child. I'm standing in my father's hip boot, my favorite wool knit sweater, my dad's World War I Army campaign hat, which was now his favorite hunting hat. I'm holding my BB gun, which my grandfather gave me. I have a mallard duck slung over my shoulder. This was me at age 6. The great hunter, explorer, adventurer, and woodsman. This photo brings back memories of our old turn of the century home in Tacoma, now gone. Behind me, obscurity bit from sight, is a goldfish pond.
Joseph, give us one more line, and that is, I'm so sorry to interrupt you because I want to hear the whole thing. Will you give us one more line, just the last line that you can read to us for today? I'm so sorry, I have to interrupt you.
Pond with its water fountain and its sparsely dressed nymph statue of a water nymph holding a fish which spews out water. I just finished that fast.
Thank you so much. I urge all of you to find someone that to read your writing to today. I know that, thank you all for those of you who volunteered to read, and I'm sorry we didn't get to everybody. Joseph, thank you so much. I know you've got someone special there with you, and I hope you'll get a chance to read the whole thing. I've really enjoyed every minute I've had with each one of you. Please contact me at kellydumar.com or email me your writing. I'd love to look at it, and I'll send you a comment. So please stay in touch, and thanks again for being here. I send you healing with your photos, and it's been a pleasure to meet you. And I want to thank my volunteers for being here to back me up today.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And thanks everyone for being here. I think that Kelly's website and email are in the chat box, but perhaps you can put them in there again right now. Can we get a final round of appreciation? You can either unmute and clap, or you can do jazz hands, which are just as good. And don't forget to support all of our poets directly by following them and buying their books. There is plenty more amazing programming happening this weekend. If you're interested in attending more events, check out the website. You can also visit the virtual Small Press Fair, listen to the Improbably audio tour, and visit the Acrostic Gallery and more. Please follow Mass Poetry on our social media accounts and sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already. The links are listed in the chat. Any donations go to support not just the festival, but year-round poetry programming. Thank you so much for coming to this event, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.